A supreme challenge in sports. Great golfers pitted against a great course in an atmosphere of tension and suspense. A winding country road in eastern Pennsylvania becomes paved with gold in the July sun as the world's great golf professionals arrive at Aronimink Golf Club to seek their fortunes in the 44th PGA Championship. Aronimink provides a regal setting for the third jewel in America's Triple Crown of golf. To club officials, the staging of the 1962 National Championship of the Professional Golfers Association of America augurs the most significant event in the 62-year history of the course, and they're determined to make it the finest ever played. Tournament Chairman Jack McInnes and his staff have made elaborate preparations. To 250 qualified caddies falls the important task of preparing the equipment for the greatest names in golf, including defending PGA champion Jerry Barber and the exciting South African Gary Player. 1962 Masters champion Arnold Palmer, fresh from a second straight victory in the British Open, is looking for his first PGA championship. The ever-popular slammer Sammy Snead won both the Masters and the PGA in 1949. Jackie Burke is the only other man to win both in 1 year. He turned the trick in 1956. Kerry Middlecoff is a two-time Open champion, but the PGA title has eluded his grasp. In 1955, the golfing dentist finished second. Popular Dal Finsterwall won the last PGA championship played in this area at the Lanark Country Club. Big Jack Nicklaus recently put down his school books at Ohio State University to begin a dazzling professional career as the Open champion. These 6 gentlemen and about 170 others are all battling for the $13,000 first place money, biggest PGA prize in history, and the coveted Rodman Wanamaker Trophy. As tee-off time nears, the golf course superintendent, George Baskin, supervises his personnel in setting up the course, with the cups moved to positions requiring maximum shot-making ability by the professionals. Tournament officials take a final close look at the beautifully conditioned turf. PGA Tournament Supervisor Joe Black in the red coat likes what he sees and gives final approval of the lush fairways, which have been narrowed by as much as 30 feet for the championship. A full year's work by some 400 club members undergoes the acid test as the opening day crowds swell around the first tee. The avalanche of humanity that has come to typify the modern-day professional golf tournament cascades down the landscape, and 200 marshals, 60 detectives, and more than 100 scorers and attendants know their work has been cut out for them. On hand, too, are more than 80 members of national press, radio, and television teams. The huge gallery murmurs with excitement as the officials get set to start the imposing field down Aronimink's spectacular #1 fairway. The voice of PGA Secretary Wally Mund pierces the tension-laden air as he calls the first threesome to action. First day pairings match Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer in a continuation of the summer-long head-to-head battle that has had the golf world buzzing with excitement. Jack thrills the crowd and serves notice to his opponent with a screaming drive down the middle. Palmer is riding a seemingly endless 3-year hot streak that has made him the biggest spectator draw in golfing history. The 3-time Masters champion shows the strain of his record-shattering British Open triumph at Troon, Scotland. Another tournament favorite, Doug Sanders, known for his unorthodox swing and his sense of humor, slams one off the tee. Thus, the 4-day drama begins with a ton of pressure on every shot. First day action produces some of the tournament highlights, like this fantastic 60-foot putt by Joe Campbell. Joe sights down his ever-present cigar, and away she goes. It drops. Performance like this helps the young professional from Pendleton, Indiana, to an even par 70 on the first day. Not one to be outdone by any newcomer, veteran Chick Harbert regales the gallery around the 18th green with this bit of putting wizardry. The 40-foot bullseye brings Chick home with a blazing 2 under 68. But while golf's greatest names plod onward with their massive followings, a senior professional by the name of John Barnum is quietly closing out the best round of golf ever recorded at Aronimink. The 50-year-old professional from Grand Rapids needs a 2-putt green to break the standing course record. His first putt skids 3 feet past the cup. With 10,000 hearts beating in silent admiration, John Barnum strikes a blow for middle age by sinking his return putt for course record 66, 2 strokes ahead of the field. On the second day, the question in everybody's mind is, can John Barnum keep up the grueling pace he set yesterday? He lets his driver do the answering with a big blow off the first tee, but sand and sadness lie ahead for Barnum. Charging to the front is dangerous Doug Ford. His putt on number 9 is up, but off to the right. Doug holds out for a second straight 69. His 138 total is good for a 1-shot lead over hard-charging Gary Player and George Bear. The Paul Bunyan of the professionals, Big George Bear, has found the finesse to go with his incredible power. The 6'5", 240-pound blaster is used to being long on his shots. But recoveries like this one have him muscling in on the leaders. George's par 70 ties Player for second place. With 36 to go, this PGA pressure parade belongs to anybody. As the third round begins, only 3 strokes separate the 7 front runners. A little lens clowning on the part of Big John Barnum, Big George Bear, and what's left of little Gary Player helps ease the tension. Gary's antics here are unnecessary. The South African, who wears all black to feel strong, flexed a blazing 67 yesterday. Now it's time to leave the humor on the tee and get down to the serious business of attacking 7,000 yards of rugged terrain. Doug Ford splits the middle, and the third round battle is on. To almost every golf fan watching, Arnold Palmer is always a thrill. Here's Arnie sizing up his second putt on number 12. The man with the muscle and the delicate touch started out 5 strokes behind the leaders, but today his touch seems to be lost in the moors of Scotland. Taking plenty of time, Arnie strokes, but the ball refuses to drop, and Palmer has another 3-putt green. His cold putter caused him to take 73 blows on this third round, and the only major title that has eluded him seems to be slipping further out of reach. Doug Ford would have liked to have more of these shots. But they were few and far between. The third round leader skies to a 3 over par 73. The man Ford defeated for the 1955 PGA title, Kerry Middlecoff, deliberates carefully. Then rolls in a beauty from 12 feet. The Memphis dentist will take a 3-round total of 213 into the final round. Youthful Bob McAllister had only the distinction of being sponsored by Lawrence Welk, until he started sinking putts like this. His rounds of 74, 66, and 70 put his name right behind the leaders. Bob Golby, a powerhouse tour player from Belleville, Illinois, approaches the 18th. His third shot on this 423-yard hole is a beauty as it curls up to within 5 feet of the pin. The 31-year-old belter with the steel nerves calmly strokes home a hard par 4 for 71 and a 3-round total of 212. Bob, who is one of the most consistent money winners on the tour, will be taking a sound game and plenty of confidence into the final round. The brilliant South African Gary Player has been charging the pins all afternoon. Again, he strokes boldly. And from the look on his face, you know that the ball is hanging on the lip of the cup, just a blade of grass away from a birdie 3. It took him just 69 shots to complete his third round, and the dazzling little shot maker takes the tournament lead with a 208. On the final day, PGA President Lou Strong receives a great ovation from a gallery of 14,000. His comment, "Thank you for being here." George Baer and Doug Ford are two of the closest men to Gary Player. Baer tees off. The 147-pound player said that he doesn't like being in the lead. As he prepares to hold his advantage, Gary hams it up with a great show of confidence. Bob Golby on the left is 4 strokes behind Player. He and Bob McAllister, who is 2 strokes behind, will tee off in the same threesome. Player, who hasn't tasted victory on the United States Tour in over 15 months, sends his first shot winging down the tree-lined first fairway. Bob Golby, who also has gone an unusually long time without a win, is determined to turn this final round into a sensational victory for himself. From the moment the ball leaves his club head, the huge gallery seems to sense this is the match to follow, and how right they are. After 5 holes of play, Golby finds himself 6 strokes behind Player, but suddenly he regains the magic touch. This long 60-footer nestles up to within inches of the hole. With renewed confidence, Golby begins to cut into Player's nerves and his lead. On the 7th, Player fails to charge the cup, and he leaves himself with a long, long putt. His stroke is light, and he now has a tricky 3.5-foot putt for his par. The crowd is hushed as Gary goes for his par. But he pushes it off to the right for a 3-putt green. He 3-putts the next hole, and Golby is now only 4 strokes behind. Golf's freshman of the year, Jack Nicklaus, who started the day 6 strokes behind Player, has been burning up the course. Sensational shots like this have enabled Jack to creep close to the leaders, but the burly Ohio State belter, fresh from his USGA Open victory, still has a long way to travel if he expects to overcome the inspired play of Golby and Player. Bob McAllister, who invaded the limelight, held by the bigger name players with rounds of 74, 66, and 70, runs into a wall of pressure and a cold putter. The 28-year-old shot maker has a string of 3-putt greens and slips out of contention. At this point, a torrential downpour floods the course. Golby, after sinking an 8-foot birdie putt in the rain, is now only 3 shots behind Player, and he would hate to see this great round wiped out. As suddenly as it disappeared, the sun comes out, and the drive for the title is on in earnest again. By the 12th, Golby has narrowed the gap to just 2 strokes. Golby is on in 2. Player studies the shot ever so carefully. Then, with a bold touch, lofts the ball greenward. The ball takes the roll perfectly and stops just 6 feet from the hole. His challenger safely puts away his 4th shot for a par, and now The strain is on Player. His lead could be cut to just one stroke if he misses. The pressure mounts as the gallery senses the importance of this putt. Gary looks it over. Then bangs it cupward. The ball drops for a hard-earned par 4, and Player hangs on doggedly to his two-stroke lead. On the 16th, George Bear, after falling 3 strokes behind Player, makes a determined bid to get back into contention. The ever-dangerous Doug Ford pulls off a great shot, but previous bogeys on 10 and 11 have put Doug 2 over par. The tournament seems to have reverted to the old match play format that the PGA abandoned 5 years ago, as Player and Golby continue their head-to-head battle. Here's Player rolling one 5 feet past the pin. With Golby already holed out in regulation figures, Player again needs this putt for his par. The emotion-packed drama was never greater as Player studies the contour of the green. The putter that he had used only once earlier this year again becomes the most important club in his bag. He strokes, and the ball just curls in the side door, and Player is still 2 shaky strokes in front of Golby. As they come into the 541-yard par 5 16th, Player goes for the pin on his 3rd shot. It just clears the edge of the trap, and he's 20 feet away from his par. Golby hit a powerful second blow and landed in the trap to the right of the green. Bob then pulls off one of the greatest shots of the round as he blasts to within 14 inches of the cup. With Golby after a sure birdie 4, Player must now sink a 20-footer that can only tie him. Player sights in, then takes his stance. He strokes, but his putt is too high, and he leaves himself with a 1.5-foot putt. Golby's perfect sand trap shot is approximately the same distance, so Bob McAllister measures them both to see who putts first. Player didn't lose his turn, so he must putt before the man challenging him for all the chips. Player easily gets his par, and now it's Golby's turn. Bob taps it in, and Golby's furious charge has him within 1 stroke of Player's lead with only 2 holes to play. On the 18th, Jack Nicklaus finishes up in a blaze of glory. He rolls in a tricky 8-footer to record a sizzling 67. This moved Jack past 8 men into a tie for 3rd place with a score of 281. This was the first PGA Championship appearance for the 22-year-old. Now, George Bear, who has been near the lead all through the tournament, needs only a 3-foot putt to take undisputed possession of 3rd place. George lines it up. But his stroke pushes the ball off. George is beside himself, and while a weekend golfer might take this lightly, to a professional, this is an expensive mistake. George must now settle for a 3rd place tie. Player and Golby are on the 18th fairway. Player, who has been using a 4-wood off the tees for the most part on the back 9, studies his second shot to the green. A stray shot here could be very costly. Gary rockets the shot greenward. It catches the fat part of the green, and Gary is safely on, but some 50 feet from the pin. Now it's Golby's turn. A lot is riding on Bob's ability to get close to that pin. He's got the carry, but the ball drifts offline and lands some 25 feet from the hole. All 14,000 Galleryites converge on the green, and each one seems to be hoping for a sensational finish. With Player leading by 1 stroke, anything can happen to turn the tide of battle. The relentless struggle won't be decided until the very last putt, and Bob Golby knows the finish lies in the delicate touch of a putting stroke. The gallery and the little man from South Africa also know the tournaments are won on the greens, so with an outward calm, Gary Player addresses the ball. Settling into his stance, he grooves his stroke. The silence is shattered by the click of his putter blade. His stroke is strong as the ball rolls up, then stops 2 feet past the hole. The little man in black is still tense as he marks his ball. If his pressure-hardened opponent can sink his long 25-footer, the match will be tied, and that means an 18-hole playoff. So far, Golby has taken 65 strokes. How Bob would love to can his 66th. 30,000 eyes plus 100 camera lenses zero in on this man who has made this one of the most exciting, attention-holding tournaments in years. Bob brings his blade back. The ball scoots cupward, but it slips 2 feet past. Player seems to breathe a sigh of relief. Golby immediately holds out for a brilliant round of 67. He made a gallant try, and now it's all up to Gary Player. His short putt must seem a mile long at this moment. Gary calmly hits it down the middle, and Player's 70th stroke of the day and 278th of the tournament wins the coveted PGA Championship. Player seems drained of all energy as he faces the wild enthusiasm of photographers' gallery and is then greeted by his wife, Vivienne. Gary Player becomes the first resident of a foreign country ever to win the PGA. For doing it, he receives the Rodman Wanamaker Trophy from PGA President Lou Strong, and most important, the biggest PGA check ever, $13,000. One of the hardest fought of all PGA championships is now a matter of history. But we doubt if the thousands of fans at Aronimink and the millions who watched on television will ever forget Bob Golby's challenge and Gary Player's victory.